Golf Central on YouTube, brought to you by TaylorMade.
Well, we are proud to be live and on site here at TPC River Highlands this week for the 69th edition of the Travelers Championship. And whilst there may be no fans in this new normal stage with the PGA Tour's return to competition, the professionals still put on a show here in Cromwell, Connecticut. As we say good evening and welcome you to what has been a glorious day of golf in perfect summer conditions here in the Northeast. I'm Cara Banks, George Savarikas alongside me. We will get to more in a minute, but more on Mackenzie Hughes first of all, because whilst he set a new low for first round play here at the Travelers, 60 is not in fact the best round this golf course has produced, as you might recall when, well, Jim Furyk delighted us with the lowest round in PGA Tour history when he came home in just 58 strokes back in 2016. It was actually Russell Knox who took home the trophy that year. Now, of course, Mackenzie Hughes matched Patrick Cantlay with what he did today. 7 others have gone around this layout in 61, including Phil Mickelson en route to winning the Travelers Championship in 2001. But let's get some reaction from what the Canadian achieved today, as he did speak to George Savarikas after that round.
At what point did you start thinking about the number?
I got on, well, I birdied 2 on my front or backside, so I was 7, so I knew I needed 4 more coming down the stretch. So at that point I knew I was in a pretty good position to potentially do it. A few pars in a row, so I was kind of behind the 8 ball, and then birdie on 6, standing on 7T, realized, I just got to run the table, and it's, it'd be 59, and got done on 7 and 8, and then 9, unfortunately, didn't draw a great lie, left of the fairway there, and did the cardinal sin and left it short for 59. But yeah, it was pretty fun.
Thought process off the blade as you're having
I knew it was short. I to be honest, I just kind of got it a little bit on the bottom of the putter. I knew it wasn't rolling the way I wanted it to. The line was perfect, but just didn't quite get it.
So he said it was a little bit of a slow burner, George, kind of a build of a round, but after a while the hole just starts to look bigger and bigger, and that is a comfortable place to be as a player, isn't it?
And you could say that's how his season has been so far in 2020. Mackenzie Hughes missed his first 5 cuts. Then, if you remember the Honda Classic, right before we stopped down in March, a solo second, and that was what really spurred him on to work on his game during the stop down for the pandemic. During that time, and not quite the same extent that we saw out of Bryson DeChambeau, but he put on 10 pounds of muscle while he was at home during quarantine in Charlotte, North Carolina. Felt like he retooled his game, and now out here on the PGA Tour feels like he can get to spots that he hadn't been able to reach before, and that's because he had this 3-month period to start changing his body as well as his golf game. And in that time also, he and his wife, Jenna, they have a son, Kenton, already, because he played his college golf at Kent State, so that's the name. They're now welcoming their 2nd child in December. So a nice addition to the Hughes family as well, and a great start for him.
Well, that's a fantastic story. It is amazing, actually, how we are seeing a change in quite a few players coming out of this quarantine period. You think of Mackenzie, of course, Bryce and Gary Woodland's had a physical transformation. Justin Rose, Jordan Spieth, both seem to have turned their game around. Well, Mackenzie Hughes is another one to add to that list.
From tee to green, it looked like you were pretty dialed in today. What's it like when you get in that type of flow?
It's nice. It's really nice. I feel like this golf course here, I've had rounds like this before, but not being able to capitalize on them because I haven't putted that well. But today I held some nice putts too, and yeah, just kept giving myself plenty of chances. It's a really, I was saying over there, the last, it's nice to come back to somewhere that's familiar. The last 2 weeks, Colonial never been to, Hilton Head hadn't been in over a decade. So to get back to familiar surroundings and just feel like you're not having to learn on the fly a little bit, that's helped this week.
At what point could you tell that you were in full control of your game and could post a pretty low number?
The eagle early on, the eagle on the 13th was good, and then the tee shot on 15 that's a new 3-wood. I hadn't actually hit the 3-wood on the course yet. I got it yesterday afternoon. Yeah, I was just struggling with my 3-wood a little bit yesterday, so I put a new one in the bag, and I hit that tee shot on 15 to like 10 feet, and I was like, that's it. If you can hit a shot like that, most things are under control.
Rory didn't play in this championship last year, but his best finish at the Travelers came the year prior, tied for 12th in 2018. Birdieing 4 of his last 8 holes today was part of that incredible round that saw him find 16 of 18 greens in regulation. As a result, he is part of that pack that are 3 back, tied for second, 7 under par behind Mackenzie Hughes. The leaderboard is littered with so many other names that we will get into as we continue our post-game coverage for you here on Golf Central this evening. But for now, it is time to welcome in the other half of our team who are at our Golf Channel headquarters back in Orlando, Florida, as we say good evening to Rich Lerner.
Cara, thank you so much. Joined now by 4-time winner on the PGA Tour, won the Travelers in the Hartford area back in 1977 when it was the Sammy Davis Jr. Invitation. And I mean that, man. Billy, what'd you think of Rory's work today? It was an easy 63.
It wasn't an easy 63, and like he said, he feels very comfortable on this golf course, and he talked about the 3-wood. That was a great shot on the drivable par 4, 15. But the driver, you and I were talking about it.
Change in the loft, and what's it do for him? Why would he do that?
Well, I think because of his shallow entry into the golf ball, I think that affords him a chance to go to a little less lofted driver.
So what did he go to?
Went to an 8 degree,
okay.
and you know, he can go ahead. He can still send it very, very high.
Most guys are hitting what?
9.5.
9.5. Although
they may even go to 10.5.
To Shambo to 5.
Went to 5. But his launch angle is crazy high. But Rory has that shallow entry that I'm talking about, that he can go ahead and send the ball. The launch angle is so good immediately, and then the re-entry into the fairway, now he's going to get some run because it has less spin, and for my money, he's probably the best driver in the game. And
that 3-wood, how far is he hitting that 3-wood? That's a 15 degree, right?
But he carried it probably in the neighborhood of 290 on the par 4, so he hit it right in the valley. 298. I think he can press it to probably a little bit more than that, but it's a golf club that he can maneuver the golf ball. I think that's very important for Rory to be able to maneuver that 3-wood from time to time when he needs to, especially off a tee.
What do you think he got out of the last 2 weeks on 2 golf courses, Colonial and Harbor Town, that aren't Rory golf courses? They're sort of hemmed in, can't quite air it out. What do you think he got out of it?
Well, I think he got some good reps. We often hear about Tiger Woods talking reps. You know, I need more reps. And when he shot the 65 on Friday at Hilton Head, it afforded him the opportunity to play on the weekend, identify maybe something that wasn't just quite right for him, and it led to a nice 7 under par 63.
He doesn't need to do anything, but what kind of statement would a win here deliver, given that he's the #1 player in the world, and if you're #1, you put the hammer down every 3 or 4 weeks, don't you?
You do, and you know he's been #1 for 105 weeks, and there's a reason. But a win here would be a big boost because once this restart has started in Fort Worth, now it becomes a sprint all the way to the Tour Championship. It's seemingly every event out there right now is a massive event for these players, and that's the way that these guys are treating it. And, I mean, this is 3 tournaments in a row, Rich, where we've had over 100 players with each having at least 1 tour win. I mean, the strength of the fields have just been phenomenal.
Looking at last night, like I said, I looked at the pins and I knew they were kind of tucked, and with the wind picking up, I was a little concerned about, you know, shooting a low number, but once I saw those guys do it, I was sort of just follow the leader.
Is it challenging to sort of also at the same time stay patient, where if you're not making birdies a little bit, I mean, you got to obviously on a really hot run, but I would imagine it's 72 holes, so you're going to go through stretches where that doesn't happen.
Yeah, of course. It's kind of typical Thursday golf. Trying to position yourself smartly but patiently, and if you can do what I did and make some long putts, it's sort of the easier way to do it versus firing at those tuck pins and giving yourself a little more stress. So, you know, it was one of those days where you sort of play to the center green or pin high or away from the pin and try and take your 18-footer. And fortunately, I was able to make them.
With the score that you were able to make last one, with the score you were able to post up, how much of an opportunity do you think you have here this week with what we assume is going to be the nice time with a late good score and then early morning tomorrow?
Yeah, it's, you know, I'm in position to do something nice with hopefully no wind tomorrow. And you know, I got a few good breaks today, which I'll be the first to admit. Rattling off a pin, the chip that was going to go 20 feet by, went to 3 feet, and 18, I almost hit in that left bunker, and it ran down to, you know, 70 or 80 yards of the pin. So it was with no wind there, and I just need to clean it up a little bit, and hopefully we can hit a little closer tomorrow.
He's been knocking on the door, Billy. Had a great crack at it at Colonial, tied third. He missed that short putt. 2 other playoff losses this season. He's 10th ranked player in the world. In what areas is he better than most guys out there?
Well, I think he manages his game well. He's an excellent iron player. In fact, I was surprised to hear him talk about the hole locations being tucked with the softness of the greens. And as good an iron player as he is, I thought that would have been just perfect. It ended up being perfect, but I was surprised to hear him say that he was shying away at the beginning. But I think, he drives it well enough, and he has that go-to shot where he can take a little off of an iron and control the distance. We saw him do it beautifully the whole round today.
Competitive spirit, pretty strong, too.
Competitive, and I'm not saying this just because he missed the putt at Colonial, but when he finished his round today, he came up with a couple of short misses as well. And I think once that becomes a little more consistent, I think there's just a little hesitancy there right now with the putter. And I think once that becomes a little bit sharper, then he gets back in the winner's circle with regularity.
Shows up in big spots, too.
Oh, big-time player.
Major championships, FedEx Cup, right?
No question.
Yeah.
How would you describe what the first round was like?
Oh, it was a really good round for me, and I had a lot of fun playing with Rory and Bryson. They're just tremendous players, and Rory swings the club so well, and Bryson, I really enjoy listening to some of his thoughts because it's a whole different way to play the game, and so we had a really good day, and I hit a lot of good shots today and had some fun too.
Who goes more down the rabbit hole, you or Bryson, when you're having those type of conversations?
We just go in different directions because his is more mathematical, scientific, and biomechanics and so forth, and I kind of combine feel and make my own math up. So we have our own ways of doing it, but I enjoy and learn from hearing him talk about what it is they're doing, and he's got a great caddy in Tim that really works well together.
How much of it is human nature when you start seeing putts go in from guys in your group that you collectively start to feed off each other?
Certainly it helps you start to see good shots. You start to see yourself hitting good shots and follow the players in the group. So it's helps us all that we all played well.